1. So right now I'm working in fast food at a certain place with square burgers, making fries and nuggets. Now at said place it was fine. My coworkers are great, really nice people. They cover me when I clean instead of putting me at the mercy of the managers. Speaking of the managers, they are almost all nice. Notice the almost, it will be important later. Since I am still in high school and I surprisingly have a life, I'm shocked also. I can only work Saturdays and Sundays, with Saturdays being 5 to 9, and Sundays being a mix between 7 to 3:30, and 8 to 4 respectively. Now, since my football season just ended and I'm called in on a Friday, this is before I fully knew the worst manager there, Vanessa. So I do what I normally do, drop the fries, pull them up after the timer goes off, drop them into the fries holder, salt them, and put them in a carton ready to eat. You are supposed to also use the drop timers, which is supposed to keep track of how long they're sitting there, and after a certain set time, you throw them away. I see next to no one do this, so I assumed I shouldn't do it. Well, Vanessa noticed this and began to chew me out because of it, but in a way that was way extra. Think talking like you caught your son having sex when he forgot to take out the trash. This got me a bit peed, but I had no choice but to use them. Now, the reason we don't use them is because it slows things down. You're supposed to drop more fries when the timer says so, but this isn't possible during the lunch or dinner rush without causing major overflow. Now, Vanessa tells me to switch out trash cans, so I let the guy on grill, Chad, know to keep an eye on it and to use the timer because Vanessa wanted me to. So I switch them out, and no later than 2 minutes after I'm done, she gets up in my face about not dropping in on the timer. I tried to explain to her why this wouldn't work, but she insisted on it. So I used the timers and slowed down production. The rush died down a bit, and I still used the timers as I didn't want my head chewed yet again for a third time. Nonetheless, Vanessa found a way to scream at me. She told me to drop less fries, idiot. Now, I politely told her that she was the one that told me to drop it on said timer. Now, what I said and how I said it didn't show the complete riot going on in my head. I was saying to myself, bitch, you just said to drop more. She screams at me to do it anyway. Cue the MC. So the rush picks back up, and I do not drop a single fry. I take box after box from each and every order until there was enough in there for one more large fry. That's when I dropped the amount for another large fry right then. I also followed the left and right basket rule. No basket of fries from the right to go on the left, to really stick it to her. Manager tries to chew me out once again, but I informed her that I was just following her orders. She tries to flip the script, saying she never said that, and that she was going to write me up for it. Thankfully, Chad overheard the previous conversations and let her know that yes, she did say that. She tries to put Chad down, telling him to mind his business and threaten to write him up. Seems like game over for us, right? Except it isn't. Our second savior, the other manager working at this point, Aaron, also overheard the conversation and also let her know she said that. Now, she can't threaten to write up someone on the same level as herself, so what does she do? Excuses herself and him to the back, where a glorious shouting match occurred. We all heard the yells and promptly pulled out our phones. We all see Vanessa storm up here, screams, "Fuck you all!" and leaves out the front door in front of a crowd full of people. A 2020 crowd, as I like to call them, and put the pedal to the metal on her 2005 Honda Civic. And that was the past of Vanessa. After the fact, we got a new manager that was leagues better than Vanessa, and everything was in balance. And to add salt to her massive wound, I found her recently at another fast food chain, where I said to her, "Don't drop too many fries, lady." 2. This story is from a diner I worked in. Same one where a guy screamed, "Eat my ass." This one, though, happened in the last few months of my 9 years working there. I had this manager, Jo. Jo was and still is an alcoholic. She could be lovely when she was sober, but when she was drunk, it was like she became the devil herself. I have so many tales of her being an ass at work and still somehow was never demoted or fired, just written up. I believe it's because she had worked there for 20 plus years. On the night of my story, it was our employee Christmas and New Year's party. It was on a Sunday night since we closed early, and so we could open later on Monday. On Friday night, that same weekend, I burned myself pretty badly while making dinner at home and wound up in the ER for hours. I had texted her I was in the ER with a burn covering the whole top half of my thigh and would not be able to work at 7 a.m. the next day. Her response? "Find someone to cover or you're fired." I told her she's the manager, her job is literally for moments like this, and I would message our boss to inform him of our interaction while I'm in the ER. She said fine, we'll figure it out. Fast forward to Sunday and my boss, he's like an uncle to me, I'm close friends with his daughter, and my siblings have all worked at this place for years, messages me to see how I'm doing and to say that he would like me to come to the party, as it'll be my last one being employed with them and the staff want me there. I say sure. My boyfriend and I go mostly because it was free drinks and my boyfriend was excited. I couldn't drink, so I sat in one spot the whole time, and he brought me food and my coworkers hung out with me. Cue Joe. I say hi to her and thank you for finding someone. She just stares back. Doesn't say a thing and walks away. She actually ended up being told to leave by the boss lady for being drunk. I'm like, okay, bye. I go to leave an hour later, and she's standing outside the bar, hidden, waiting for me. I come out of the bar side door and she approaches me, red-faced and yelling. She proceeded to mock my burn, call me baby girl, and begins to berate me for faking an almost third-degree burn. I literally had crutches and my leg was bandaged like no other. I tell her to stop and leave me alone. She then steps closer and slaps me like a full-on slap. My boyfriend is there with his jaw on the ground waiting for me to head back, but I couldn't. My leg was literally blistered and pretty much an open wound. I started yelling for her to get the fuck out of my face and that if she didn't leave, I'd be calling the cops. Next day, she texts me a simple, "I'm sorry," text. I called my boss and told him I needed to come in and talk with him, told him of the problem, and said if she didn't apologize to my face and make efforts to stop drinking, I would be filing a police report and would refuse to work with her. Well, when she came to me, we talked, I forgave, and all was good till I left. Found out a few months ago that she got fired because she chased a customer out of the diner, saying they didn't pay, but she was just too drunk to notice a bill with money on it at the table. 3. I've been a server for over a decade, and I was reminiscing about the years. Majority were good, but of course there are stories of crazy events, so I'm going to tell you one. A little background information. I worked at a mom-and-pop lunch spot. Typical items, pasta, sandwich, pizza, etc. We made our own dough though. Our big lunch special was a 2 or 3 combo between a half sandwich, salad, soup or fries, but only one per category. This is important. We were near a university next to a grocery store. I used to go to the university, so one day I came in to have a meal during dead hour. I was talking to my coworkers, an Asian male and black female, also important. When this man storms into the restaurant, he asks to speak to the manager, also owner. The female informs him that the manager was running an errand and will be back. Then this man started ranting that he was a lawyer, and he had a client who had to walk out because they felt they were being discriminated against. He then turned to the female, who was the server for this table, and starts to berate her. The male server jumps in to try to defuse the situation. I called the owner and ran to help a to-go order while this was going on. The woman overheard how he was talking to the server and tells me, "I don't like how he's talking to her." She then tells the man, "You shouldn't be talking to her like that." Which escalated things, because now they were arguing with each other. The woman's boyfriend comes running out of the restroom due to the commotion. He pulls her away and now the kitchen staff is telling the man to leave. The man then makes a phone call and the bit I hear, "The manager isn't here. They got another customer involved." He hangs up the phone and leaves. We had to write down an incident report about the situation, so from what I gathered, the female employee had a table of a black mother and daughter. They wanted to order the 3 combo but with 2 soups. She was still new at the time, so she goes over to ask the male server. He informs the table that we are unable to do that, then goes off to his table. The ladies end up ordering a wheat pasta, which takes extra time since we had to cook the noodles. The reason why they were upset was that a table came in after them got their food first, a white couple who got soup and salad, which they attributed to being because of their race. The man, most likely her husband, what lawyer actually storms into a restaurant and causes a scene? Ended up sending an email to the owners. His side of the story was that the male was the server for the table, and he favored the other table and ignored the ladies. He also claimed that the to-go order lady left and then came back with her boyfriend. The owner answers back that we don't accept racist behavior from staff, and that we had footage of everything, the ladies and the man ranting, as well as a receipt that has the female employee stamped as the server. We never heard back from them, but we had everything ready if they did try to start something. 4. In my country, there are no community transmissions and very few active cases, so we have no major social restrictions. We are essentially functioning as normal pre-COVID times. I worked a standard 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. shift yesterday, and for some reason that's when all the batshit customers decided to come in. The booking of 25-plus old white men that continually made sexist and uncomfortable jokes about myself, the only female server on at the time. The 80-year-old man within that booking that made a sexist joke to my face, something about women being unable to make decisions. When I did not laugh, he doubled down on the sexism as if I didn't get it. When I still didn't laugh, he told me I should get a better sense of humor. He was apparently also so offended by this interaction that he told my manager I didn't laugh at his sexist joke. My manager laughed at him. This booking put their names in the order notes on their food when they ordered to make sure everyone paid. When I was running food to their table, I had a spare meal that nobody was claiming and called out to the table, "Fish for John." A man put his hand up. This interaction went like this. "Hi, did you order the fish?" "Yes." "Is your name John?" "Well, I didn't tell the server that when I ordered." "But is your name John?" "No." He had ordered the salad and his name wasn't John. The same old men stayed for 4+ hours after their booking. When I was trying to move tables to put together another booking for later that night, I very nicely asked one of the men if he could move his beer so I could shift the table. He responded,
"Well, I'll just go die, shall I?"
I have never been so conflicted between wanting to keep my job and making a crude joke about how he probably didn't have long to go anyway. These men immediately migrated to another table that we also had to set for booking. I let them sit for another hour or so because it wouldn't take long to set up, but eventually asked them to shift to another open table in the restaurant. Dude on the end is very unhappy with this, pulls out the old,
"We've spent thousands of dollars here today and we booked a table. Why should we have to move?"
I had to very patiently explain to him the basic concept of a restaurant that, yes, he booked a table, but other people can book tables too, just like him, and our policy is that we let our guests stay for around 4 hours. They had been here for 6. Tells me he's never coming back. I say, "Okay, I'm sorry to hear that." He goes out of his way to tell all of my managers and staff that he's never coming back again because of the way he was treated. Yes, the same man that told me to get a better sense of humor and said, "Well, I'll just die then," when I asked him to move his beer off the table. The people we had to move the tables for were booked for 20. They showed up with 35. We did not have enough seats or enough tables available in the restaurant for 35 people. They genuinely thought the most helpful thing they could do was go around and ask other patrons to give up their tables for them. Were very, very confused when we told them they couldn't do that. The man at a function who expected me to notice whenever he had finished his drink and get him a new one automatically. There were 20+ people in this function. I had to tell him that's not how bars work, and if he wanted another one he had to order it each time. He got very upset about this. The guys had booked out one area that insisted on having me high-five every time I went over to the table. One guy at this table grabbed my upper arm while I was clearing glasses and asked me if I lift. I do not. Every time I went back to the table, he grabbed my bicep again with both hands and asked if I work out. I asked him to desist several times. He did not. Another time I came over to the table, he asked me, "You smell that?" I asked what. He proceeded to blow air in my face. Bonus, after I finished my shift and was waiting at the bar to get a drink, he came up to me, grabbed me around the waist and whispered in my ear, "Now let's get you as drunk as I am." I told him I had to speak to my manager about something and went home. 5. This older gentleman and his wife have been coming to my store since before the pandemic. Before, they never really requested a spot, but they were definitely the type to make a fuss and just randomly sit down while being led to a section. Once the pandemic started, that all got amplified by 200%. Him and his wife think it's cute or funny to walk in, ignore the host, and most times say, "Follow me," to them. Our managers always ignored it for the most part. All the servers and hosts did too. They usually came in when it was pretty dead, so it was whatever. But a few nights ago, they came in and we were slammed. I mean, no tables open. The host is cleaning tables as they're getting slammed. The couple walks in and, of course, refuses to listen to the host and just sits down at the table they now think they own. It's, of course, in the one section that's closed, which is why they chose this table now. And get pissed off and complain if the server takes any other tables near them, and is on the complete opposite end of the store from the server who is going to serve them. This isn't the first time this has happened, but no matter what is said to them, they ignore us. So the host follows them and puts their menus and silverware on the table. As they sit, the older man then tells the host that he was just at the place across the street and he left to come here because they threw menus down that acted like we didn't exist. The host nods and says there's going to be a wait for their server because her section is out of the way of their table, and she's currently taking a larger party's order, and that she'll be over soon. The older couple ignore this, the host shrugs, and walks back to the host stand. 3 minutes pass. 3 minutes. The server finishes taking the order and goes straight to the older couple's table to greet them. Before she even says hi, the man holds up his hand to her face and says, "Manager!" In the 2 seconds it takes for the manager to walk over, the older couple is getting up and shouting about how poor the service here is. About how they've been waiting and they're getting ignored, and how they just went to the store across the street and got their menus tossed on the table, only to come here and have the same thing happen. Just on and on. The manager says there's nothing she could do about their wait because they demanded a table out of the server's section, and the server was taking an order. The older couple continue making a fuss the entire way out the door, all the while talking about how this place is being ran poorly, and how they're never coming back. I really hope they keep that promise. I've had enough of the same creepy, nasty people coming in here week after week, feeling more and more comfortable treating us like trash, because they know we can't afford to quit right now. I hope more shitty people follow their lead and just stay home. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Spinning Plates, episode 123. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. I would also like to give a shamefully late birthday shout out to A Elephant. Their birthday was actually on Tuesday, but I didn't see the message until it was a little late for me to put it in a video. Well, I might have seen it just before I made the videos, but it was like I glanced at it and it only kind of filtered in my brain right now while I was making this one. So it's literally Tuesday as I'm recording this, and Tuesday's video is already made. So, a belated happy birthday to A Elephant, and happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday dear A Elephant, happy birthday to you. Okie dokie. Right, if you do want a birthday shout out for yourself or a loved one that listens to the channel, of course, folks, just, pop an email or something about a week before. Gives me time to remember. It's not a problem to do it. It's just, it's more likely to happen if I have time to actually plan it. Okay, and with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves,